Hello. It's nice to see you again. Today, we're going to talk about the first two parts of the conclusion building recap strategy. To write an effective conclusion, be sure that it uses each of these 5 strategies. But, the first thing you want to do in your conclusion is restate your thesis. That's what the R stands for. And then the E stands for, explain how your thesis was supported. The thesis tells your reader what you believe and why. It is your position on the issue. In the conclusion paragraph, it's important to bring your reader back to the main focus of the essay. The thesis can be the first or last sentence of that conclusion, but don't hide it in the middle of the paragraph. You want to make it easy to find. In addition, you don't want to just copy your thesis from the introduction. It is much better if you can paraphrase or reword it. And, if you forgot to state your thesis in the introduction, you should go back and add it. Otherwise, your reader will have a harder time understanding your arguments. As I mentioned before, you can use paraphrasing strategies to restate your thesis. These strategies are taught in a different module, but let's go over the basics. There are several different paraphrasing strategies. One is called, change the words. Here's a thesis statement from an introduction. Instead of repeating the same words, you can use new words that have a similar meaning. Check out this restated thesis from a conclusion. Notice that it has the same meaning as the original, but it uses different words. Another way to restate your thesis is to change the structure of the sentence. Here we have the same thesis statement as before. But this time, instead of changing the words, we're going to change the order of the words and phrases. Notice that the sentence has the same meaning, but the structure is a little bit different. Lastly, another strategy you can use is to change both the words and the structure. This strategy combines the other 2 strategies I just talked about, so the thesis statement in the conclusion looks completely different, but it still has the same meaning. Okay. On to the next strategy. Explain how your argument supported your thesis. In your introduction, you preview the arguments that you'll discuss. In your conclusion, you will summarize your arguments. However, your summary should not discuss your evidence. Focus only on your arguments, not on any specific evidence that you talked about in the body. Your goal is to show how your arguments fit together to support the thesis. Think of each argument as a piece of the puzzle. Put the pieces together to give your reader the big picture of why your ideas are important. Let's look at a sample outline and see if we can't make a conclusion paragraph out of it. Here's our prompt. Is academic honesty really that important for students? Below is our thesis. And then here are 3 main arguments we use to support our thesis. Lastly, the outline includes some notes about possible evidence. Let's see if we can use this to write a conclusion. Press pause to think about a possible conclusion. Press play when you're ready to continue. Great. Here's a conclusion paragraph that summarizes all of the main points. Can you find the first argument from our outline? It's right here. The first sentence. The next sentence in our conclusion summarizes our third argument, about ignoring the cheating problem. This was the third argument in the outline. The next sentence summarizes a second argument in the outline, which talks about the consequences of cheating. Notice how we use the word instead to connect these 2 arguments. That's a connective word, which you can learn about in a different module. And finally, we end with our thesis statement. The thesis reminds the reader of the main idea of the essay. So, to review, your conclusion paragraph is like a summary of your essay. The R in recap stands for restate your thesis. You need to remind the reader about your position on the topic. Simply restate your thesis from the introduction. But don't just copy it. Paraphrase instead. Next, the E stands for, explain how your arguments support the thesis. Bring all of your main points together to show that you've successfully supported your main claim. Like assembling all of the pieces together to reveal the big picture. By doing this, you can show how your arguments are related to each other and a thesis. Well, that's all for now. After reviewing any part of the lesson you can close this window to be taken to the checkpoint automatically.